welcome to the BISP Solutions. My name is Anjali, and in this video, we are going to understand how we can do the balance sheet planning in the application. In the previous session, we have covered the income statement planning. Now, in this session, on the basis of this requirement sheet, we'll be doing balance sheet planning. Okay, so first, I'm going to make you understand what will be the criteria for solving this problem statement. So, this is the problem statement. You can clearly see these are the assumptions. So few assumptions are based on the income statement and rest we have the balance sheet. So because we need to cover the balance sheet, so we'll be starting from here. Now here you can see we are having some historical results which are basically for 5 years. That is from 2012 to 2016. Okay, and on the basis of this historical data, we can make the forecasting. So our forecasting period will be starting from 2017 to 2021. Okay. Now one more thing. There is a balance sheet where all the assets and liabilities are available. And if you can see that here is the balance sheet accounts like the assets and liabilities are automatically we need to write the data so that on the basis of this data we can calculate the assumptions because there are some member formulas have been applied. So first we're going to understand the balance sheet items like how the assumptions have been calculated. Then after that, once the assumption is completed, we'll apply the same member formula there in the planning application. And based on these assumptions, once we get this data, then we can make the forecasting for the next period. Like right now, I'm having the data for from 2012 to 2016 for the liabilities. But see, if I need to calculate the forecasting period, so forecast period will be based on this historical data. So the criteria would be like this. First, I'm going to show you how the assumptions can be calculated. So all the formulas I have written here in the notepad, like if I need to calculate the account receivable in days. So the formula will be account receivable divided by total revenue multiplied by 365. So in the same fashion, I'll just copy the same because I have previously created this formula and then paste it in the application. And then after validation, I'll show you the result. So let's get started. So suppose I need to calculate this account receivable in days. So basically, my formula is account receivable for the current year divided by total revenue. So see, the account receivable is E42. That means the figure will be fetched from here 5100 divided by E24. So my E24 will be total revenue. So let's do it simultaneously here. This should be account receivable divided by total revenue multiplied by 365 because we are calculating this for the in days. Basically account receivable we need to calculate in days. That is the reason we need to multiply by 365. So you can see it is 8.25 something. And in the application also I'm getting the same figure. Let me show you. I have created one data form as well as the smart view. So let's connect this sheet once again. So you can clearly see when I applied the member formula, I get the figure 18. Absolutely correct. And similarly, I have created one data form also. See, the result is here. Similarly, if I need to calculate it for the next period, then again I need to input some data here in the account receivable because I have already loaded the data in the total revenue for all the years. So when I load some data here manually, let me show you like this account receivable in the next year. will be 5904.3. So copy this, paste it here, and when you click on save, you will find the number over there in the account receivable in days. Similarly, when I input number here 6567.25 in the next period and click on save, so I'll be getting the result in this way. Okay. Now let's see what member formula I have been applied here. Based on that, I'm getting the result. Okay. See, everywhere is 18. Basically, it is taking the rounding off figure, but it is 8.25 something. Similarly, okay, everywhere is 18. If I need to calculate the inventory days, so again, I need to input some data directly in the data form. Like this first one is already calculated, 7804.6, so 73 we get. Now, if I apply the financial year 21 data, that is 9600.8 and click on save. So I'll be getting the numbers here in the inventory days. Similarly, in the next period, I must have this data 9825. Click on save. So the number will be generating there 73.00. Or I can directly copy the same number and paste it here. Then click on save. So it is 73. In the next year, it will become 10531. So 10531. Click on save. So numbers will be generating on the top 72.17. See, the numbers are 72 after that. So in the initial 3 years, it was 73, and after that, it become 72. And the next row after that, it should be 11,342. So I'll be writing the numbers here 11,342. When I click on save, so the figures will be generating over inventory in days 72.23 something. Check it. It is absolutely correct. Similarly, if you want to calculate the account payable, so you need to input some data there in the account payable, and the numbers will be generating at the top of this data form. Because first row, I've taken here all the balance sheet assumptions, and in the next row, I've taken the accounts of the balance sheet accounts basically. So these are my assumptions, and these are the accounts. Right now, what we are doing, we are just calculating the assumptions based on these accounts. And for the next year, like when the historical thing will be completed, we need to make the forecasting. So forecasting will be based on these assumptions. We can calculate these figures. Okay, this will be the criteria. Now let me show you how you can apply the member formula for the account receivable in days, inventory in days. Okay, let's save this. Click on dimensions. Select your cube. And here under the statistics, I have created one member as the balance sheet assumptions. And this is the member of account receivable in days. You can clearly see this is a dynamic calc data storage property. And when I click on the member formula, plan 1, so this will be my formula. Account receivable divided by total revenue multiplied by 365. The way you write the member formula should be exactly same. I mean, it should be in the inverted commas. You need to take the members and then close it with a parenthesis and then click on the validate. So the member formula is valid. Then click on save. Similarly, I would like to show some other formula as well. If I need to apply the inventory in days, again, I'll select the cube. Okay, we need to wait few seconds. So my inventory in days will be calculated based on this formula, inventory divided by cost of goods sold multiplied by 365. Now my cost of goods sold have been calculated from here. Like this is the revenue. I input data here from this sheet and cost of goods sold. Then after applying this, I get the gross profit because total revenue minus cost of goods sold will generate the gross profit. So it will be applied there in the inventory in days calculation. So the formula which I need to take here in the inventory days calculation will be this. That is the reason I have created the cost of goods sold as well. Let's open this once again. See, it is inventory divided by cost of goods sold into 365. Click on validate and then click on save. In this we have applied the formula. Now if I need to calculate the account payable, so okay, again, see your sheet. This is the account payable in days. Now account payable will be based upon the E48 by E25. Let's see what is in the E48. So E48 was account payable, then E25. So it is cost of goods sold. So account payable by this. Let's calculate it separately here first. It is account payable divided by cost of goods sold multiply by 365. See, it is 37. And when we match it, it is correct. Similarly, you can check it in the data form as well, or you can check it in the smart view also. So this sheet I have used for the smart view testing. You can clearly see I'm getting the numbers 37. In the initial 3 years, the number was 37 in the account payable days, and then it is 36. Let's validate it. Okay, there should be 36, 36, but I'm getting 39. So I need to check the account payable amount. So this is the account payable. Let's match the figure with this sheet. So the account payable should be 3902. It is correct. 400, 4800. It is also correct. Then 4912, 5265, and 5671. So these figures are correct. Now let's match the cost of goods sold amount. So the cost of goods sold should be 39023, 48004, 49123, 53254, 57310. Okay, so these are also correct. Now I'm just going to apply the formula once again and we'll validate the same. So I've just connected this sheet once again, and this sheet should also connect once again. Now if I calculate this account payable number separately, then it should be account payable divided by cost of goods sold multiplied by 365. It should be 38.55 something, and we are getting 39. So it is in rounding off. That means our result is correct. And here it is 37. So almost the difference of rounding off, because the member we have tested, that is correct. Okay, here it is 36. Let's check it how it comes. Account payable, that is in the 2015. This divided by cost of goods sold multiply by 365. So it is correct. 36 it should be. We'll input the data once again. 5625.4. This should be my account payable. Paste it. And the cost of goods sold should be 53254. And then I click on submit data button. Here also click on submit data. Click on refresh. And I would like to apply the member formula once again. Account payable by cost of goods sold. This I need to apply here In the account payable days, so it is dynamic calc, member formula, plan 1. So the member formula is valid. Then click on save. Then click on the refresh database button so that the database will refresh and give the correct figure. Okay, let's check it here in the data form as well. So this is 36.5, and when we test it here in the requirement sheet, this is also 36. Okay, so only just zero point 0.5 rounding off difference is there, although our result is correct. Similarly, after that, it should again be 36, so it is also correct. Now let's see how they have calculated the capital expenditure, debt issuance, and equity issued. So if we see the requirement sheet, so the capital expenditure, they have just taken a reference from E68. E68 would be taken from here, from the cash flow statement. So investments in property and equipment, that is 15,000 directly they have taken from here, so that we can get the numbers in the capital expenditure, because capital expenditure will take that amount which we have invested to buy some machinery or some big capital, to buy any capital in the industry. So all the expenditure, like the capital expenditure, will be included only that figures which we have invested to buy big machineries and all furnitures, etc. So either you can just make it store if you want to write the number directly, or you can just take a reference. So what I can do here, I can just create, if I'm already having this cash flow statement in the application, so I can just write that this 15,000 there and take a reference directly. So this investment in property and equipment, let me just search that is it already available in the application or not. So here I'll just search it in the plan 1. Okay, let me check the same in the cash flow statement. So this is basically, this should include here in the net cash used in the investing, because this is a capital expenditure. Proceeds, capital equipment purchases. Okay, so here I can apply the that figure and then correlate it. So suppose just copy the same, and then in the statistics balance sheet assumption, what I can do, I can just apply the same formula. This should be equal to capital equipment purchases. Okay, so this is like the other way. Either you can directly input the data there in the capital expenditures, or you can just take a reference. Okay, now suppose I would like to add direct figures. So I will just change the property. I mean, I need to change the member property from dynamic calc to store. And when I click on database refresh, so it will be allowing me to input some data manually. Because right now we haven't worked on the cash flow. That's why I cannot take the reference, or maybe there are some member formula has been applied. So now when I click on refresh button, you'll find that I can write some data. Suppose it is 15,000, I can directly write and submit numbers. So in this way I get the result. Similarly, that issuance is again taking the reference from the cash flow, and equity issued is also. So let's check it first in the requirement sheet. So this is the debt issuance. There is no data. They have taken the reference from E99. So E99 was issuance repayment. That means maybe the company has taken some loan or something, and this is the member for the issuance or the repayment. So the loan will be repaid on the 2014. So right now there is no data, that's why this is blank. Okay, again you can just make it that you can just change the data storage property, and you'll find that you can directly input some data in the debt issuance. Similarly, equity issued, it is repaid. Okay, so it is taking the reference from E73. E73 is issuance repayment. So 1,70,000, we can directly input the data, or we can take a reference again. So what you can do in the planning application, you will just input the data in the cash flow statement, and you can just make it a shared member of that, like this. Let me just do it. Like I need to input some data here. So in the smart view, I'll be taking that member, click on refresh, and manually I can write the number like this. Suppose it is 15,000, submit data. So right now we have input the data in the assumptions manually. But if you want to um, take the reference directly, so we can just make it a shared member. So again, I'll just use the same member name. It should be capital expenditure purchases, so that I do not input the data again and again. Just paste it and make it a shared member. Or you can do the things like this, input some data here and make that member as a shared one. Okay, so that is also possible. Suppose this is assumption. Okay, we just want to input some data here, and based on that, let me just copy this, and I'm just adding a sibling of this capital equipment purchases. So how I can make shared like this. So in this case, whatever data I input there from the assumptions, it will be automatically reach out to the account in the cash flow statement. Then click on save. Then I'll just refresh it once. Okay. Now when I just check this number, from here I can select the member, and this is in the cash flow statement. So it should be in the net cash used in the investing, and this was the member. Just click on refresh. See, it is automatically reach out to here. If I make it 20,000 here, submit data, so it is automatically comes here. Now, as per the requirement, this should be 15, 15, 15 everywhere. So I'll just paste 15,000 here, so automatically it reaches out to the capital expenditure in the cash flow statement. Submit data. So in this way it works. Okay. So as per the requirement, we have already calculated the account receivable in days, inventory in days, account payable, capital expenditure, debt issuance, equity issued. So in this way, you can create your own drivers there. Now, the next thing is once you get these assumptions, because this is calculated. So my motive is to show you how you can apply the member formula whenever you need to calculate these assumptions. Okay, we cannot write directly input some data. But if you see in the next year, like whenever there is a forecasting period, there is the direct input. They have directly inputted the numbers. Okay, now based on these numbers, they have calculated these balance sheet accounts, because previously they have directly input the numbers in the historical years, but when it comes to the forecasting period, forecasting year, so there they have applied the member formula. So again, what we need to do in the application, I need to in the application, I need to change the data storage property. Right now it is dynamic calc because we have applied the member formula. But now I again change the property from dynamic calc to store and just input some data here in the next period. And based on this, we'll be getting the result in the balance sheet accounts. So let's try to do it for just one or two account so that there will be an idea like how you can create that. And in this way, you can generate the numbers in the data form as well. See it. We are getting the numbers here. Now the purpose is these are the actual, I mean the historical period, historical year from 20 financial year 2020 to 24, and I just want to make the forecasting for financial year 25-26. So again, I just need to change the data storage property from dynamic, so from store to dynamic calc, and then here I'll be applying the member formula. Okay, so this is our first condition, and now I'm going to make the second condition. So let me just take the snapshot. This is for the assumptions calculations we have made this. Now whenever you need to see the balance sheet account calculations, again the member formula will be applied. So if you see this cash, so cash has been referenced from J78. That means the closing amount of cash will be taken from here from the cash flow statement. So at the end, they are having some closing cash balances. So this 309494 as referenced. So you can connect things. Whenever you need to see the cash amount in the balance sheet, you can just take a reference from the cash flow statement. By using the shared members, you can do that. Okay. So when I explain the cash flow statement, I'll be explaining how the cash amount will be reflecting here. Let's discuss about the account receivable. Okay. So there is one formula they have applied J24 multiplied by J15 that divided by 365. This is the formula. I have written the formula here also. So J24 was total revenue multiplied by account receivable in days. Now previously we have applied the formula here in the account receivable in days. Now we just we'll change the property so that we can input some numbers, or we can use the @prior function. So whatever the data there in the previous period will automatically comes there in the next period. Okay. So when it is store property, so we can input some numbers and we'll apply this formula. Okay. So let's check it for one account. Control C. And now first I'm going to change the property from dynamic calc to store, and I'm removing the member formula as well. Deleting it. Click on save. Reopen it. Click on member formula. There should be the property only store. Only then we can input some data. So this is the account receivable in days. Now we can input some data directly. Previously it was gray in color like this. Okay, now you'll find when I click on refresh. Okay, I need to refresh the database also, so we can input the numbers there here directly. Okay, so this is store now, and click on database refresh. So now I can input data manually. So suppose it is 18. As per the sheet, we need to take the same amount. So here they have manually input the data in the account receivable 18 throughout the year. So I'm again uh, just taking the 18 figure, submit data. Now, based on this, I just want to calculate this account receivable numbers for the remaining period, like for the plan 25 and 26. Okay, so we'll be applying the member formula here. Again, copy this formula, there should be some data in the total revenue as well. So we need to check the numbers. So these are my balance sheet items. When I click on the total assets, this is my separate hierarchy I have created here. Click on the account receivable, and before it was store because we have input some data manually for the historical data. But when we need to apply the member formula, the property will change from the store to the dynamic calc. Then click on member formula, choose your queue. Sorry, it should be dynamic calc, not store. Click on validate first. So the formula is valid. Then click on save and then refresh your database. And one more thing I'll test, that the revenue should be there in the application. So revenue is already here, and let's match the figures. So basically I want to check it from 25 and there is no revenue. So I would like to enter some data here. Okay. So revenue should be 158,311. 158,311. And in the next period, it should be 165,435. Everything is formulated. You can apply the formula anywhere in the planning application. So right now, submit data and then click on the refresh button. So you'll find that we are having the values in the total revenue. Now we want to generate numbers here in the account receivables. See, there are automatically we can see the data and it is gray out. I cannot input any data. Now let's match the figures with the requirement sheet. So this is the requirement sheet and it is the account receivable. The numbers should be like this: 7807. See, it is correct. Next should be 8158. It is also correct. So we have applied the correct formula. Similarly, if I need to apply the member formula in the inventory, so again, I have written the formula separately. The formula should be cost of goods sold multiplied by inventory in days. So whatever the inventory in days available will be multiplied by this divided by 365. So we can get the inventory amount. Okay. Again, go to the application. And again in the assumptions, I'll just change the member property from dynamic calc to store. And in the member formula also, I will just delete the formula because we have seen the result already. Click on save and it should be store only. We cannot use dynamic calc whenever there we need to input some data. Dynamic calc property will be used when we want the roll up figures in the parent level member. Okay. So again, make it as store. Now I can input data here. And one more thing, I need to apply the formula there in the inventory part. So there should be some data in the cost of goods sold. So again from the requirement sheet, this should be 58,575 and the next one is 61,211. Data submitted and now uh, just choose the account where you need to apply the formula. And from store first, I would like to make it a dynamic calc. Then click on the member formula, plan 1. Now I will just paste the formula. Okay, this is not the correct one. Let's use that formula which I need to use for the inventory. paste it, validate. So the member formula is valid. If you write the correct formula like the parenthesis, inverted commas, correct indentation has been used, so formula will be validated and then click on save. So now we will find that the figures will automatically come here in the inventory part. Click on refresh. Right now there is no data in the inventory, but when we refresh it, we get the data here. Okay. Click on refresh. So now it is also gray out. Okay, right now there is no data still. So we need to check it that are we getting the correct numbers or not. So one more thing, um, we need to check the cost of goods sold as well. So that is, I guess, there in the next hierarchy. Okay, this is a store. And I need to check whether any member formula has been attached to this. There is no formula. Make it dynamic calc. Again, there is no formula. Okay, so save it. I'm just reapplying the formula. The formula should be cost of goods sold multiplied by inventory in days divided by 365. Okay, and this I'm going to apply here in the balance sheet hierarchy. So it should be cost of goods sold multiplied by inventory in days. So I can copy the member from here so that the spelling should be correct. Inventory in days. There should not be spaces will be used, otherwise the formula will be not validating. And then it should be divided by 365 because right now it is in uh, days. See, the formula is not valid, so we need to use the parenthesis. Okay, let me just copy it once again from here, cancel and reopen. It is dynamic calc only. Cost of goods sold multiplied by inventory in days divided by 365. Click on validate. So the member formula is valid now. And then click on save. Refresh the database once again. Okay, I'll create one new member because it is not available here. Although we have applied the member formula, um, maybe I need to change formula. So either I can change the formula once again, taking cost of goods sold from here. There should not be any member formula attached with these members, otherwise we cannot see the result. Okay, you can see the formula is validating, but the numbers are not generating. So this may be due to some member properties has been attached to different accounts, like this inventory days, right? This is dynamic calc. That is the reason we are unable to see the numbers. It should be store only, and the member formula should be removed. Okay, save it. It is not changed. Make it a store. Now again, Click on member formula, click on plan 1, check in the dynamic calc. There should no formula attached, only then we can find the result. Okay. Make it a store and then click on save. Now just refresh the database once again. Now when I test it, refresh it once again. Okay, the numbers should be generating here. Let's check in the data form. There is only account receivable is available. Okay, let me just create the member once again and reapply it. Inventory in days. I can copy the member from here also. J25 multiplied by J16 divided by 365. So J25 is cost of goods sold multiplied by J16. Cost of goods sold multiplied by inventory in days by 365. I'm changing this once again. Inventory in days multiply by TOGS divided by 365. Click on validate. Let's create the new member here. Inventory 1. This is dynamic calc. Click on validate. So your member formula is valid. Then click on save button and refresh your database. Okay. Now when it comes to test, I need to select the member here again. From member selector, this is the balance sheet items. Inventory 1. Refresh. Numbers are not populating here. So we need to just find out the reasons. Inventory days. It is a store only. See the member formula once again. Let's wait for a few seconds. Maybe due to some technical errors, it is unable to open. But because this is rounding, so there is some formula has been attached, and this is the reason we cannot see the result. So what we can do, we can just add the same member. I'll write it. Inventory in days. It should be store. Copy the same. save it. And now rather than this, I'll write the formula once again. COGS should be multiplied by inventory in days, parenthesis open, parenthesis close, and then at last it should be divided by 365 and close it with a semicolon. Inventory 1, remove this. There should not be any spaces, otherwise this won't work. See, there is errors. So maybe there are some spaces. Let's write it separately. Cancel it and reopen. Inventory in days multiply by cost of goods sold divided by 365. Again, it should be in the parenthesis. Select your queue. Okay. Error compiling formula, that is inventory in days. Okay, maybe the parenthesis has not been closed completely. Now it is validate. But again, the previous member has been used inventory in days. And one more thing, the property here should be dynamic calc only. Again, refresh the database. See, the property has been data storage property is stored only in both of the members. Okay, I need to select the other member again. Okay, again, there are no numbers. The same thing we have applied here in the account receivables, and the formula was absolutely correct. Maybe I can change the data storage property for the cost of goods sold and then it will work. Right now there is no formula has been attached. Okay, like we have seen the result in the account receivable, the numbers should be populated here also. We have checked everything. Once again, need to test the inventory because inventory has been taken only two figures, that is cost of goods sold and the inventory in days. And it is already okay. Let's write some numbers only, then we can see the result. No, so inventory in days should be 73. Okay, see here also they have directly applied the numbers. This was a stupid mistake. We can just drag it throughout. Click on save. Here also I'll apply the numbers. Now if I see the result, see this is automatically available. Very basic. If you have done the basic mistake, then also you cannot populate the numbers. So every time you do something like you apply the member formula business rule, just check it that everywhere there should be data. There was no data. That is the reason we are unable to see the result. But now, as we have input the data here in the inventory in days, then we can clearly see the numbers. Now let's validate the same from the sheet. So it should be 7805, 7804.6, then 96009601. Absolutely correct. Just the rounding of difference is there. 9825 9824.6 10650.8 and then 11462 114 sorry 11342. Maybe again the cost of goods sold number we need to check, and the inventory in days, again I'm testing the numbers. Okay, somewhere it is 72 and we have taken the 73. That is the reason. We can change it once again. 72, make it 72 and then click on save and refresh. So now it is correct. Inventory, yes, 10,504 point something, 10,531 and 10304.98, and it is also same. Okay, there have been some member formula has been attached. Um, Maybe the rounding of difference is there, but absolutely we match the figures for everything else. Similar way, in the next session, I am going to show you how you can make the cash flow statement there in the planning application. We have just used the requirement document and then we'll apply the member formula, business rules, anything we can use for the sake of getting the calculations, and then we'll make the data validation separately. So in this way, we can create any financial statement, any planning in the planning application by using these requirement documents. Just one thing is important, your formula should get validated. All the members and drivers should be there in the application. Then you can find your result. Okay. So for now, I think everything is completed. So just end the session. Thank you so much for attending. And guys, still, if you have any doubt, then you can write us over the www.bispsolutions.com. So thank you so much.